Good evening and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is our first webinar from a series of webinars that we are calling The Road to Optometry. And it is brought to you by Latinos in Optometry and Transitions Optical. And just like Dr. Aleman just said, we're so happy and thrilled to have you all here tonight with us. I'm Dr. Lina Arango, and I'm a board member of Latinos in Optometry, and I'm also a board member of the Diversity Advisory Board of Transitions Optical. So we know that time is variable, so this webinar is going to run for about 45 minutes. So we really encourage you, all of you, to actively participate during the webinar. So we would like for you to ask questions using the chat feature that I think is working, right? And if some of your questions, if we are not able to answer some of your questions by the end of the webinar, don't worry. We are going to have a Q&A session in our Instagram page where you can actually find resources and more guidance later. For now, let me introduce our co-host, Dr. Glenda Aleman, who is going to talk to us about Leo.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. So before I get started with my slides, I would like Lauren to read a couple of names of the chat just so that we can see who is here from the student side and start some connections.
So we have a couple of people chatting right now. Michelle Castro.
Michelle from Nova. Hi, Michelle.
Alejandro Molina, Sarah Salam, Andrea Cervantes. I'm on here, Valdemar Torres. So we have a number of people that are here, and everybody should be able to chat now together. So we got that one cleared up. So thank you.
Great, guys. So this is a safe place for us to have, where we can communicate and we can even say, hablar español aquí, porque estamos, este es un grupo de latinos. Entonces, mi nombre es, yo soy la doctora Glenda Aleman y mi práctica está en Pembroke Pines, Florida. So now I will say it in English. I'm not as fluent as Diana. She is just a bundle of joy, but I am, now I will say it in English, Dr. Glenda Aleman, and I practice in Miami. I am a NOVA graduate from the class of 2017. And I'm originally from Honduras. And we are so overjoyed to have you guys literally making history together. So we are gonna go. This is the mission of Leo. So our mission is, as the leading voice for Latino eye care, we provide education, mentorship, and leadership to better serve the Latino community. Our vision is to increase the number of Latino optometrists and empower the eye care community with resources to better serve Latinos. These are our goals. As an organization, our main goal is to increase the number of Latino students in optometry school, provide resources and community, I'm sorry, I can't see the rest here, for Latinos in optometry, and provide resources and communication for the eye care practitioner who serves the Latino community. So this one I want to emphasize because we want to make sure that we send the message, the correct message. This is an organization not just restricted to Latinos, but also for anyone who is serving the Latino community and wants to have access to resources. So we are a very inclusive group. We want everyone who is serving, let's say you are from Russia, but you're working in Miami, this will be a great group for you because we will give you resources so you can better service your community. We want to be a conduit between the Latino community and the eye care industry. And finally, we will be providing CE that is relevant for Latino communities to the whole community of optometry. So without further ado, we are going to, I want to give a big shout out to the student ambassadors. So the students are doing amazing and you guys are the future of our profession. So I want to highlight our student ambassadors. So we have Dorian from Puerto Rico, Michelle Castro from here, our backyard in Nova, Liliana Gonzalez from Indiana University, Valdemar Torres from Berkeley. We have Eslavana Nunez from Berkeley as well, Emily from New England, Gabriela from New England, and Lisa from University of Houston, and last but not least, Diva Sikwa Vargas from Optometry Western University. So we will be in this series featuring a student and an optometrist in each webinar series. So to open this amazing series of webinars, our student that will be featured tonight is Dorian Betancur, and he is from the Inter-American University of Puerto Rico School of Optometry. Our doctor will be Dr. Canto-Sims, who Dorian will reintroduce when he's ready.
Well, hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you all this evening. My name is Dorian Betancur. I'm a third-year student at the Inter-American University of Puerto Rico School of Optometry. So I chose optometry as my career because I always knew I wanted to do something in healthcare, especially as a first-generation college student. I grew up thinking if I wanted to have a career in medicine, my options were limited to medical doctor or nurse. Now, as I started to learn more about myself, I realized I wanted a career where I could practice with autonomy, treat patients how I wanted, all while being able to spend time with them, make connections, and increase the quality of life. And at that point, I found out that there's a plethora of positions in the medical field besides a typical medical doctor or nurse. And once I aligned all those reasons of why I wanted to be in healthcare with a career that could give me all of that, I was sucked into the world of optometry, and I have not looked back since. But now, for the woman of the hour, someone who has paved the way for young optometry hopefuls such as myself to become as successful as their ambition allows them, we have Dr. Diana Canto-Sims.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here this evening. Welcome, welcome. So is there a bio, Red, or should I introduce myself?
So Dr. Canto-Sims founded Buena Vista Optical, a fully bilingual, multicultural private optometric practice and eyewear boutique in Chicago. She is the co-founder of Leo and the eyewear designer for La Vida Eyewear, an award-winning independent eyewear frame collection created to embrace diversity by creating frame styles that fit her patient base, predominantly Hispanic, Latino, Latinx, and people of culture. In recognition of her ongoing contributions to the eye care industry, Dr. Canto was named one of Vision Monday's most influential women in optical. She's a 2018 eye care business game changer, a graduate of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program, and a graduate of Stanford Graduate Business School Scaling Program for Latino businesses in the US, creating a multiple million-dollar optometric practice. Dr. Canto is passionate about mentoring and developing leaders in the optometric community to provide better eye care for her community. And a cool fun fact about Dr. Canto-Sims is that she owns a 74-acre farm in Indiana that grows organic American ginseng.
It hasn't harvested yet, but we're growing it.
All right, so let's start from the beginning. So what was the light bulb moment for you that solidified in your mind, made you know that private practice was the modality of practice for you?
Well, hello, everyone. Again, I am so excited to be here and to share with you my story, my journey in optometry, which has been over 2 decades. I want to share with you all the ins and outs of private practice, and I am very happy to answer that question. So the question is, what was that pivotal moment that determined, okay, we're going to do private practice? So a little bit of background. I went to optometry school in Puerto Rico, so it is my alma mater. Also, one of our board members is also a professor in the Inter-American School of Optometry, which is Dr. Hector Santiago. And so when I attended the school, I like to say that I'm the OG because I actually attended when it was in Atorrey, not where it is right now in Puerto Rico. So it's been a while. And I actually met my husband in school. He didn't attend that school. He went to ICO, but he did a residency in Puerto Rico, which is where we met. And that was where we decided that we wanted to go into private practice. So when people ask what was that moment and why did you want to start private practice, it really was our why. So when we met, we knew and understood that we wanted to serve the Spanish-speaking community in the United States. We knew that that community was underserved. There were not a lot of multilingual, bilingual doctors that could really, really take care of Spanish-speaking patients or Latino patients in vision health. And so we had determined really early when we met each other that we wanted to open a private practice to be able to serve our community. So the number one reason was contrast. And what do I mean by contrast is, in order to know what you want, first you need to know what you don't want. So when we went into optometry, we experienced different modalities of optometry. And early we discovered what we didn't want. And just because it's something that we didn't want doesn't mean that it's not something that would be for you, because we all have different values, different work ethics, different talents and skills. And so it is so important that before you determine what you really want to do, you try different modalities of practice so that you can wean out what you don't like and you determine what you do like. So for us, we knew and understood that we wanted to open a practice in a community that was dear to our heart, which is where we lived. We lived in the south side of Chicago, and there were really no opticals in our area that served our community. So the number one reason was our why, was to service our local community that was dear to our heart, because no other opticals were around. And a lot of people, when we told them we were opening in the south side, they were like, that's nuts. Why would you go there? You know, you should go to Michigan Avenue or somewhere bougie. But the reality was that was our why. We wanted to serve our community. And also, the other reason was generational wealth, right? Again, my husband and I, he's also an OD, we knew that we wanted to create generational wealth for our family. And we noticed that when we had a job, it was great because we had health benefits, we had 401k, we had, we would go to work, come back, but we felt like we couldn't achieve generational wealth as quickly as if we owned a practice or a business. And so that was another motivation for us to open our own practice here in Chicago.
Perfect. So let's go back in time. Right before it all started, we have a young, ambitious, fresh-faced Dr. Canto-Sims about to open her very own private practice. To me, that sounds very scary. So I want to know what your biggest fear was entering into that, starting your own private practice, and how did you end up overcoming it?
Yes. So again, private practice is not for everyone, right? First, you need to do your homework. You need to practice and other modes of practice, including someone else's private practice, so that you get a feeling of what it's like. For me, the fear was the sense of uncertainty, right? Leaving our jobs where we would get a paycheck every week. We had health insurance, we had, all these benefits, and we would go home, and that gave us some sense of security, right? Opening a practice cold, not knowing the future, was kind of scary. And the other thing that was scary was failing, right? So when we opened our practice, we had $250,000 in student loans. So yes, that was a lot of money that we owed in student loans. We had just bought our first home, so we had a mortgage, we had bills. And then on top of that, we would open a practice. We didn't know if it was going to fail or if it was going to succeed. So not knowing was kind of fearful, but at the same time, the way we dealt with it was, again, our why. Why are we doing this, right? And what can we do to avoid failing? And what I did in my practice was really early during our practice, my husband and I determined, okay, you're going to see patients. I'm going to focus on practice management. I took every single business course available that was free when we first started. And so I took 3 business courses, live or virtual. After, I became more of an expert and I knew a little bit more about running a business, the business part of the practice, then I started, buying courses online and in person. This is important because you need to build a network of resources, tools, and people. That is why organizations like Leo are so important, because you are here and maybe you're a student and maybe you're a new grad. It's important that you make connections now, not after you graduate, right? Make connections now, because Leo is an organization where you can have mentorship, you have resources that you can come here. Once you're in school, you can have mentorship. Once you graduate, you can have mentorship. Words don't teach. Really, what teaches is experience. So being able to know and network and mingle with people from our board is going to allow you as a student to really discover so many things that you would have the advantage because you didn't discover in school. So joining organizations like these, this is definitely something that I wish I did as a student, because it would have propelled me to start off with so much advantage. So network support, mentorship is also important. So when I first started, I had a mentor. I had someone that actually went to school with me as well in Puerto Rico, and he owned 3 practices in Texas, 3 or 4 years before I did. So absolutely, I reached out to him. He mentored me. He showed me the basics of how to run a practice. So these are tips that are important. That's important that you start setting this foundation of a really robust network of people for you to be successful in optometry. So those are my tips, right? And the fears, and we were able to overcome them because of our why.
Right. So let's fast forward a little bit. Someone who went from opening cold in Chicago, the Windy City, with the year's worth of savings and a dream, to now owning a multiple $1-million optometric practice. Through all of that, what would you say has been the biggest reward so far in private practice optometry?
So, okay, since you mentioned with a year worth of savings, I want to share this with everyone. Maybe things have changed, but when my husband and I graduated, we had this why, we had this dream, we had a business plan. And I walked into the bank. We both walked into the bank, and we introduced ourselves like, hi, I'm a doctor. He's a doctor. We're both doctors. We want to open an eye care clinic for our community so that they can see better and they would do better. Would you lend us money? And the bank said, absolutely not. You do not have a business. You do not have any experience doing this. We would not, it is too much of a risk. You have no equity. How do you know if your business is going to succeed? No. Go ahead, open your practice, run it for 2 or 3 years, and then come back to me with some equity and profitability and some numbers, and then we can talk about a loan. And so after that, keep in mind still, we owed $250,000 in student loans and a mortgage. We went back and we decided that our why was more important than giving up, right? So we saved. We saved for a year. We built a lot of equity in our home, paying it off in a year. We didn't eat out. We did a lot of budgeting and sacrifices. We didn't buy coffee at our bougie coffee place. We made coffee at home. And for a year, we did that. We were able to sell our home that had equity in it, buy a commercial building that had a 2 flat. So we would have the practice on the first floor and then live on the second, and use all that money that we saved and the equity to actually open our practice, buy the equipment, buy the inventory, and all of that. So that's good to know, because I didn't know. I thought I could just be a doctor and go to the bank and get a loan, and that's not how it works. So it's important that if you want to be in private practice, you start saving now, right? Now, that said, for us, opening in our community was important. So we wanted to not just serve our community so that they could see better. The most rewarding part of this was being able to see patients that would have never had an eye exam because they don't have a car and they couldn't get to an eye doctor, right? So it's important that we always focus on our why. So there was 2 parts to the question. What was the other part?
The other part was, what was the biggest reward of private practice
Okay.
so far?
So the biggest reward, I'm going to say, is the community. And the reason is because there were no opticals in our neighborhood. So 1, we had no competition, right? 2, we were bilingual. So our community was mostly Spanish speaking. So all of a sudden, we were so booked from day 1. Like, we were booked months ahead. We started growing very fast. We built a team very fast because there was a demand. So the most rewarding part was being able to hear our patients' parents come to us and say, my child, had been tested for all these things because we thought he had a learning disability, when in reality, he just needed glasses. And I wouldn't have had an eye exam if you weren't in the neighborhood because I don't have a car. So by you having this practice here in my community, I was able to give my son an eye exam. And we also see, because we've been open 18 years. So we've seen a lot of the kids grow up, have kids, and bring their kids to the optical. And that's very, very rewarding. But another rewarding aspect in private practice is the ability to be able to develop leadership and leaders within your practice. So when you open a private practice, it's important that you develop leaders and you have a staff that you can empower and they can make the decisions that need to be made so that you can run your practice. So when I look at my staff, I have staff that has been with me for over 10 years. So for over a decade, I have a handful of staff. When I look at them and I remember what they were like when they applied for the job, and I look at them now, they have transformed into amazing leaders. They have learned new leadership skills. And it's beautiful because they tell me, all of the skills that I learn here, all of the leadership skills that I learn at Buena Vista Optical, I have been able to implement in my home, with my kids, with my teachers' kids, with my neighbors, the negotiation skills, dealing with people with different personalities. So creating leaders was kind of like a second result of being able to open a practice and help the community.
Huh. So really serving the community has really served you as well.
Oh, yes.
So along with that, running a multi-million-dollar optometric practice was not enough for you. So you then decided to design your own frame collection, La Vida Eyewear, of which I have a beautiful pair here I just got, known as La Bandera. Along with that, you co-founded Latinos in Optometry, you mentor leaders in the optometry community, and you own your own gigantic organic ginseng farm. That sounds like a lot on top of being a mother and a wife. How exactly do you balance all of these interests you have in and out of optometry?
So the way I balance is I don't do it all, right? Remember those leaders that I told you we developed? Just take a look at this webinar. There is no way I could do this without the support of the board members, with every single one here. I could not do this on my own. Can you imagine me trying to be moderator, go live? I couldn't. Building leaders is really what's going to help you propel and help other people on the way. I also learned really early that we're all on our own journey. Don't compare yourself to anyone else, because other people, they're on their own journey. They have their own things going on that have nothing to do with you. You have your own journey. So don't compare yourself where you are to anyone else, because you're on your own journey. The other thing is I pick my battles wisely. I cannot do everything by myself, right? I really laser focused on what are the battles that I want to pick and win. The other thing that helps, and these are great tips for students, especially because you're so young. There was, and I'm going to do a shout out to Dr. Hector Santiago again. When I was a student, he gave a suggested book read. And that book was titled The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And when you read that book, which I did, they talk about state of flow. And if anybody knows what state of flow is, let me know right in the comments. I'm going to tell you anyway. State of flow is when you are doing something that you love so much, that you are so good at, that time flies. Time flies, and you just keep doing it, and you're really good. And then you find someone to pay you to do that, and then you win the lottery, right? Because now you can do what you love, which is your flow, all day long, and you get paid for it. Now, in order to know your flow, you have to know what you're not good at too, right? The whole contrast thing. So that's important as well when it comes to making decisions about what battles to pick. So an example that I give is, obviously when you open a practice, usually you do everything yourself because it's just you, right? But when you start growing your practice and you start hiring people, it's important that you let go things that are not in your flow, that you're not good at. And I'll give an example. When we opened, we grew very quickly. I had to do the schedule. I had to do human resources. I had to do payroll. I hated it. It was just not in my state of flow. My brain is just not wired in a way that I can look at a schedule, put all the right people in the right place at the right time. And it was a disaster. Like the schedule was just a mess. We didn't have enough people. We had people. So I remember I said, I need to hire someone that's good at this because this is draining hours. Like it would take me 3.5 hours to do this. And so I remember I knew someone that's what she did. She used to work in a company that had 500 employees, and this was her job, to do the schedule and do the payroll. So I told her, I was like, would you be interested in doing human resources, payroll, and some other administrative tasks? And she said, absolutely. She came to the office, did the schedule in 10 minutes and payroll in 5. When this took me hours, and then I was able to delegate other administrative tasks that I was not good at, that was her zone of genius, right? That was what she was good at. And that was one of the ways that I was able to do all these things, find people that their zone of genius is maybe not your zone of genius, and you can complement each other. And that way you can grow learning skills that you're good at. So yeah, delegate, that's my tip.
So it's really about doing the things others won't to live the lives others can't.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to be patient because you do have to train your staff. You do have to take the time in your practice to, schedule training for your staff, because if you don't train your staff, then how are they going to treat your patients? You can't assume that they know what they're supposed to do.
So you've been practicing for a long time, as you said, and I imagine you've seen so many changes, so many advancements in the field of optometry. But where do you see the future of private practice for the next generations, for students like myself, up and coming? Where do you see private practice going for us in this new generation?
So it's interesting because private practice has evolved. It's not the same from the 90s, from the 2000s. It's not the same from 3 years ago, right? We're a global pandemic, things changed, a lot of telemedicine. So in optometry, the same thing, we evolve, right? So what I like to tell people is make sure that you know what you love, right? Look into a specialty, because the reality is that in order for you to differentiate yourself as a doctor, to really make an impact, one of the ways you can do this is by differentiating yourself, right? So when I talk about specialty, today we have tools, we have technology that allows us to do other modes of practice, like, you know, contact lens specialties, dry eye, myopia management. It's important that you know all these things while you're in school. And this is why it's so important to attend all of these webinars, because let me tell you, our board members are amazing, and they're going to share with you how they practice their modes of practice, and they're going to give you the ins and the outs, and you're going to be able to ask them questions about their mode of practice. We have, for example, we have Glenda. Glenda works in corporate, but she also has a myopia management clinic on the side. So if you think you can only do one, think again. The possibilities are endless, but it's important that you get to know who has done it already and who is thriving doing it. And the best way you could do this is by joining every single webinar that we have here today, because you're going to be able to discover what each and every one of our board members are doing successfully, so that you can watch, see, ask questions, and know what is best for you. So for me, I don't have a specialty. My specialty was, primary eye care, and we specialize in luxury and custom-made eyewear. But nowadays, we know that contact lenses, glasses, they're a commodity. You can get them at the store. You can get them at a wholesale warehouse. You can get them online. It's important that you laser focus on a specialty, and especially one that you're passionate about, because that's going to differentiate you from all of the other optometrists in your area. And if you're bilingual, trilingual, multicultural, that's an added bonus, because you're able to really create a rapport with your patient. Patients trust you because they know you understand their culture, their language, and they can have better treatments, and they will follow through because you have studied these specialties, and you understand the culture. So it's important, I think, that we all look into some type of specialty, even if again, look into it. You might not like it, but at least you know you don't like it, and you can move on to something you do like. So don't miss out on these webinars, because you're going to get so much value from every single one of our board members interviewed. I do want to add, which I think is cool. So when we opened, we were busy from day one. And so we were busy seeing patients. We made a lot of mistakes, which I would love to share in some other webinar. But we did pay off our $250,000 in student loans in 5 years of opening the practice. So when I talk about generational wealth, like, it was impressive to us how we were able to pay off our debt, pay off our mortgage, be able to invest in rental properties, be able to have a farm, and do what my husband is originally from Idaho, so he loves farming, so he can do what he wants. So I think private practice is very rewarding, but I also know that it may not be for everyone, so do your homework. Any questions?
I don't see any in the chat, but maybe can you maybe explain to them how you determine, like, what kind of research you did to open specifically where you opened? Did you use any tools or any resources to guide them?
Yes. So when we went to the bank, remember, and we were told no, we had developed a business plan. And in that business plan, we actually, okay, so again, this was 18 years ago, people. Now you can Google all this. I'm sure you can find all of this online. We actually had to go to our library downtown, and we looked at, I don't remember exactly where the data was found, but we were able to determine our community, our area, what was the best place to open. So we wanted to stay within the south side of Chicago in our community, but we wanted to also open in a place that we know that there was going to be foot traffic, that there was going to be free parking, because it's the city, and people, if you have to choose between going to a doctor with free parking and one that you have to pay for parking, those are little things that you need to pay attention to when you're opening a private practice. So Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses was a great program. However, you do need to already own a business for that, but they also have mentorship resources for you. Here's the other thing I want to share. Latinos in Optometry is an organization that is here to help Latinos, but also students. Students, take advantage of this organization. Find a mentor. Ask questions. If you go to any events, it's important that you network with other people, right? Maybe you're an introvert. I get it. Just be present, ask questions, right? Or maybe you're an introvert and you could just come to these webinars, right? And these webinars, they're so resourceful when it comes to kind of like behind the scenes. So make sure that you are a member. Make sure that you take advantage of the mentorship that we provide here in Latinos in Optometry. And I really hope that to see you in all of the other webinars that we have scheduled. And I think the next one is in a couple of weeks, and then it's every 2 weeks. So put it on your calendar because you don't want to miss out. So I think my time is up.
Time is up, and now we go to Dr. Arengo and Dr. Aleman. Thank you, Dorian, and thank you, Diana.
Thank you, Dorian. Let me see if I'm up. Okay. There we go. Thank you, Dorian. Thank you so much for your dedication, for your passion to our career. I'm sure that you are going to be an amazing optometrist, and we are going to be learning from you very soon. And thank you, Dr. Diana Canto-Sims. Wow, I'm still learning so much from you. I have so many notes in here. I really hope that all the students took their notes as well. Find your why, save money, pick your battles, delegate, try different modalities, so many so much information, valuable information that we really hope that everyone found this webinar informative and valuable. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. We do have 7 more webinars, and I would just like to correct. We are not going, the webinars are going to be every 2 months, not every 2 weeks. So every two months, we're going to have a new webinar where one of our board members, it is going to be featured, and one of the student ambassadors. And I will also like to take this opportunity to invite any students, optometric student in any state that is interested to become a Leo student ambassador, to join us and to contact us via email or Instagram, or you can go to our website, because there's still so many schools where we don't have students representing the Latino community, and we would love to talk to you. So thank you so much for joining our webinar tonight.
Thank you, Lina. Diana, what an amazing job. I mean, she's just a natural in camera, but I have to tell you that I just met with Diana in Chicago. I was in her hometown, and she is just the greatest. She's just the bestest, and she's just full of energy, and she's wonderful. Valdemar, I noticed that he put in the chat he's going to be attending Academy, so he already took your first tip, Diana, to network and try to get together whenever you go to these meetings. So just following up on Diana, thank you so much for sharing so many amazing tips with the students. Now, before I forget, I do want to give a huge thank you and also highlight Arlene Segovia. She is here, and she is from Transitions Optical. And I just want to say thank you so much, Arlene. She has been such an immense part of this whole journey. And we would not be here tonight if it wasn't for the support of Transitions Optical. So I just wanted to make sure that we all give a big shout out. Thank you so much for your support, Arlene. And dears, we want you to please join us. If you are not already a member of Leo, please go ahead and scan the QR code. I just tested it on my phone and it works. So please take a moment and scan the QR code and register and become a member, because that's what's going to give us power. If we all unite together, we are going to be more powerful as an organization. We need members So that's what's going to give us the ability to continue to have great programs like this. And one more time, I like to invite you to join us on our webinar series. So see you for our next one. Lina, it is the organized. It took a whole team of us on these. Like Diana said, know what you're good at and know what you're not good at. I am not good with memory. So I'm going to ask Lina if she has the date for the next webinar so you guys can save it on your calendars. Can you share that with us?
Of course, our next webinar will be on November 1st, same time, 8 p.m., November 1st. We will also have some information in our website and in our Instagram for you to always go back and look into the dates. But next webinar, November 1st.
So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. This was wonderful. And, this is so special for all of us because, it took a lot of background work. Thank you to our amazing student ambassadors who are doing so well in our clubs in each school. And just please join and we'll see you on our next webinar. Everyone, have a wonderful evening.
Gracias.
Bye.
Thank you.
Adios.
Buenas noches, everybody. Have a good night.